What's up everybody, and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Now today we're going to be doing something a little bit different on the channel, something that I've been wanting to do for several months. Now don't worry, I'm not changing the programming, I'm going to go back to the reviews very soon, but I felt like this is something that I had to address, mostly because it keeps coming up across all my social media platforms. And as you guys know, I take fan feedback very seriously, and again, I've said this before, if you guys take the time to email me some questions, I'm definitely going to respond to every single one of them if I can. So in case you haven't noticed, sometimes I do interject a little bit of politics in the videos, and I think it's necessary because pop culture is often a reflection of what's going on in society right now. The fact of the matter is pop culture and politics are interwoven. They're not mutually exclusive. In fact, there's kind of a symbiotic relationship there. Now, this is not a new construct in civilized society. It actually goes back to the beginning of the Republic when you had cartoonists who would satirize politicians and government in general. For some of you who are Marvel fans, you will already kind of know this, but the X-Men, and in fact all of the great characters that came out of the 1960s, were really a reflection of society, the angst and the rebellion of those tumultuous times. And if you want to take it back a little bit further, just for a little more historical context, before we got involved in the Second World War, there was a strong sense of isolationism in this country, and the idea of getting involved in another great war was abhorrent to the values of the United States. However, it is interesting to note that it was popular culture that foresaw the rise of fascism in Europe. In a very strange and almost macabre way, it was comics that predicted the destruction of the US fleet at Pearl Harbor. Before the United States government even declared war on Germany and Japan, it was comic book icons like Captain America, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman that were already fighting the Axis powers. It kind of goes without saying, but popular culture has always had the pulse of the nation. It's always been in the mind and indeed in the zeitgeist of the society. Okay, so I have pleaded my case for why popular culture is so integrated with politics. Now the reason that I'm making this video is that I've got this recurring question for several months now across all my social media. And some of you are a little bit perplexed about where I stand because they can't really fit me into a label. They don't think I'm conservative and they don't think I'm liberal. And the reality is I don't stand on either one of those sides. Which doesn't mean I'm a centrist, I don't really know what the hell that is. If I had to stand anywhere, it would be in the place that we should all be standing, and that's truth, justice, and the rule of law. Most importantly, a little bit of common sense. So you might be asking yourself, well, why are you posting this over footage of you playing Battlefield 1? Well, because I can think of no better analogy of what's going on right now with our country, especially with the politics. We're essentially in a red versus blue kind of battle right now, where nobody's winning. Just like World War I, you had a bunch of people on either side, soldiers, that didn't go anywhere and they were battling for inches, and in the middle was no man's land. And here's the saddest thing, nobody is listening to one another. Now this is not one of those touchy-feelies, we should all kind of sit around a campfire and listen to one another's feelings. That's not what this is. I'm talking about the fact that everybody is so concerned with being right that they've thrown away logic and freaking basic common sense. Now, I'm not going to ignore the fact that there are two different divergent political views here. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is you can have both. They're not mutually exclusive. And here's the saddest thing about all of this, is that in fighting with ourselves, the infighting that we do about our guy and your guy, we are ignoring the real enemy. Just like the First World War, the real enemy was not these soldiers and political ideology, it was war itself. Right now, whether you're a conservative or you're a liberal, the real enemy is not our political ideologies. It's really the people that we elect. And here's something even more frightening. Politically, we're all stuck in a meat grinder. Essentially, we are fodder, cannon fodder, for officials to get elected. Here's the crazy thing too, I have a lot of friends that are conservative that are just kind of going along with everything that's happening in the administration now. Not because they necessarily like the candidate, most of them don't even like him. They don't really agree with the president right now, and they certainly don't like him from a moral standpoint, but they kind of have to go along with it because they've invested so much and they don't want to look foolish right now. Listen, and this is not me just being hyperbolic, these are actual conversations that I've had over dinner and drinks with people that have told me constantly that they don't agree with any of this stuff, but what the hell can they do? Evidently, this is so pervasive, this is gonna sound crazy, but it's starting to affect people's relationships, whether it's with their husbands and wives, girlfriends, even a mistress. A friend of mine who had a freaking mistress broke up or stopped seeing each other because of their differing political views, and this is crazy. This is something that actually creeped me out a little bit, and I thought, wow, I can't believe that people actually do this. I have a lot of girlfriends that are single right now, and you know, they're kind of dating, and whatever political spectrum the guy that they're dating, they have almost assumed that ideology, throwing out their own logic and their own morals and their own values because they kind of want to get in good with the guy that they're currently screwing. And it even happens in marriage. I think it even happened in my own family, evidently, where, you know, the current fucking idiot that you married or the current guy that you're screwing right now or dating, you want to adopt his ideology, and for no better reason than just because you want to stay in good with him. That is the craziest shit ever. I can think of no more self-betrayal than you basically throwing away all your morals and everything that you have held dear for years because you want to get in good with somebody. That is freaking insane. And yet, nevertheless, it happens. And listen, it's not just my girlfriends, it's my guy friends as well. I mean, the other day, I actually met somebody that, and I'm not going to say the name, but I actually met somebody that one of my friends was dating, and she had, and I think it may have been the alcohol, to be honest, but she had the most repugnant and ignorant and just stupid shit to say. I mean, I can't even believe that the words came out of her mouth, and she said them in public. And yet, he's staying with her because admittedly she's pretty hot, so you know what I mean? Now, admittedly, this conversation certainly has devolved a little bit, but I felt like I had to use actual real-world examples of what's going on right now. But ultimately, I want to bring it back a little bit. And what we need to do is we need to start scrutinizing everything, regardless of whatever side you're on, especially with your own candidate. Now, I know that some of you are Trump supporters, but you're also very intelligent people. And I know a lot of you, even privately and quietly, in the deep recesses of your mind where you don't want to admit, a lot of stuff sounds like a lot of bullshit. And I think even you guys know this. Now listen, I'm not absolving Democrats or liberals either, because they're completely full of shit as well. I mean, everything offends them, and I can understand why people are frustrated. I'm frustrated. The fact that we live in a world where everything and anything could offend you, or people just wake up in the morning and look to be offended by something or someone. So I get it, trust me. But here's the thing, guys, and I'm speaking to both sides of this issue, red and blue. We don't need to have this versus kind of state of mind. It is a stalemate right now. What we need to do is we need to smarten up and come together and realize that politicians in general, and the way that we have this system set up, are both full of shit, and they're only looking out for themselves and using us as cannon fodder to further their career. And this is why, Democrat and Republican, conservative, liberal, we need to all come together and call out their bullshit. And this is particularly true on social media. Every time there's a flare of some kind of culture war or some kind of political ideology, people are quick to go to their Facebook pages and start posting shit that they support. Not really being analytical, but they just feel like they need to do that. I had a conversation the other day and somebody was telling me that, they vote the way that they feel or based on their opinion. Don't do that. Please. Really analyze things, okay? The fact of the matter is, and those people who are changing their profile pictures and stuff like that, nobody gives a shit if you stand, okay? Nobody gives a shit if you put on your profile page, I stand, okay? First of all, that is so fucking stupid, and I'm gonna tell you why. What a place to take a stand. Probably one of the safest political stances ever. Who is gonna give you shit for standing for the national anthem? That's like somebody declaring on their social media that they're against rape and pedophilia. That's somewhat obvious. That is not a bold political statement. If you really wanted to make a bold statement, why don't you challenge the preconceived notions? Maybe make an attempt to delve and dissect what's really going on and what's really being explored and why people feel like they need to take a knee during the national anthem. That's bold. What you're doing is safe and essentially lazy. Okay? In effect, it's essentially meaningless. The more important question you should be asking yourself is, do I want to live in a society where I have the right to stand, and I should give the other person to be able to express themselves in protest? Don't you think that it's much more important to give somebody else the right not to? I mean, just think about that analytically. This is what the founding fathers envisioned for the United States. It's not forced patriotism. It's the fact or the ideology or the idea that you can say, yes, you know what? We should be respectful of the flag, and I completely agree with that. But we also should be respectful of the fact that some people right now are being alienated in this country, and they should have the right to protest. They shouldn't be forced to do something if they don't want to. Here's the other thing too. Most people argue this point, and they'll say, well, you know, you can't protest in your job, and if you don't do something that your job says or your employer says, that you'll be fired. And you're absolutely right. But then again, most employers don't force you to sit for 120 seconds and stand up and salute the flag. You see where I'm coming from? There's arguments on both sides. We can be respectful and we can exercise our right to freedom of speech. These are not two mutually exclusive things. The problem is that we're getting forced into these corners by these politicians that are making it an agenda so that they can get reelected. And we need to smarten up. For those of you who are Trump supporters right now, this video is not meant to alienate you or to call you out or anything like that. In fact, it's meant to call you up, because I know that Trump supporters are very intelligent and not the boogeymen that people make them out to be, and not racist. I know that you guys are just frustrated with Democrats, and rightly so, because their message, the way that they've marginalized people, they've been doing this for years, and this is on them as well. But I know that you guys are better and smarter than this, and I know that many of you don't agree with what's going on right now. But don't let them take that voice away from you. I'm not trying to convince you away from your candidate. I'm just asking you to think and be analytical. That's it. So we don't need this red versus blue, guys. Okay? We are not divided if we start calling shit out for what it is, on both sides equally. And I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. Guys, I just want to thank you very much for listening to this video. I think we all need to have a dialogue, and you might not agree with it, that's fine, but I definitely want to hear from you in the comments section, even if you want to tell me I'm full of shit. It's completely fine, guys. I really do hope that you guys take something away from this, and if nothing else, just make sure that you analyze everything, guys. Alright, thanks for listening. I'll be starting the reviews again next week. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Yeah, I pretty much got my ass handed to me this entire round.